Tonight on Q2, justice for Jesse.
I just want to ask the public to help us on this little search, whereas we think his body is.
One family fighting through heartbreak as they look for the remains of their loved one.
Stand up, fight back! Hey, hey, ho, ho!
Plus, May Day protests erupt across the nation and in Billings.
Without those services, his life would be very different and very, very hard.
Hundreds take to downtown, rallying against everything from Medicaid cuts to tariffs to immigration. And the final countdown.
I came in to get my real ID.
Only days remain to secure a real ID and avoid those travel nightmares. The MTN 10 o'clock news starts right now.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us on this Thursday night. I'm Russ Riesinger. Our top story, a missing persons case turned homicide, has renewed one family's push for the truth tonight. It first began over 1 year ago when Jesse Johnson went missing from South Billings. Now the family, which feared foul play from day one, is searching a 30-mile stretch along Pryor Creek drainage where Billings police believe his remains may be found. Our David J. was on the scene today as the family hopes to be one step closer to justice for Jesse.
Jesse Johnson's family and friends search for his body close to Pryor Creek in Huntley.
They have an area now where we were lost at, where to find, but we continued on searching, but now I feel there's going to be a closure coming soon.
Jesse's mother, Emma Belrock Johnson, says it's too emotionally difficult for her to go on those searches. She's appreciative of any help in searching near the creek between Huntley and Pryor.
We're hurting really bad. You know, we just want closure. We want to lay him to rest. And how could people be so heartless?
Lena Ridehorse was a second mom for Jesse.
I'm very proud of him because he knew that it was time to grow up and start changing, start being there, for his kids and start accomplishing things in life.
What can you share right now, if anything?
Nothing really, except for we never knew the area, so somebody has came up and spoken. This world has changed so much. And this thing called snitches, when it comes to somebody that is a human being and was worth on this earth, you tell them. Tell everybody what had happened.
The family is still looking for more information on Jesse Johnson. They do have a poster here attached to the light post next to the court where Jesse used to like to play basketball. And they say that was Jesse. He enjoyed having fun doing all kinds of things.
He was always a kind person.
He wanted to make people laugh. Three Stooges, Pee Wee Herman. He loved them all, man. He was that character.
And he always had that deep laugh.
Jesse was life. He was everything, He has a good sense of humor. He thought about people.
Now they wait on the search and the investigation. In Billings, David J., MTN News.
Billings police crash team investigating a serious crash tonight involving an ATV in the Heights. It happened in the area of Hilltop Road and Agate Avenue when the ATV crashed and rolled over with a driver on board. We don't know the condition of the driver at this time, but police say there were serious injuries. Hilltop Road was closed in both directions from Agate Avenue to Garnett Avenue for much of the evening. A call to 911 for a possible overdose has now turned into a homicide. Officers were called to the 1000 block of Wyoming Avenue back on April 18th with 44-year-old Jesse Strack saying he believed his wife was overdosing. However, upon arrival at the hospital, medical staff discovered the victim to have injuries consistent with an assault. Strack was originally charged with attempted homicide, but the woman succumbed to her injuries last week. In the course of the investigation, officers determined those injuries sustained during the assault were contributing factors to the woman's death.
was another active weather day for eastern Montana with another disturbance moving out of Saskatchewan. But as you can see, looking in the satellite and radar composite, almost all those clouds, certainly the thunderstorms and the showers, are leaving south central and southeastern Montana right now. Had a couple stragglers that moved through Carter County, and now they're in far northeastern Wyoming, also far western South Dakota. And for the Billings area, a nice quiet night. A live view from our Stockman Bank camera. The traffic on King Avenue moving along nicely. We had temperatures that were really seasonable today. Had an overnight low of 43, daytime high of 63 degrees, so slightly warmer than average, but we have more warmth coming, as well as other changes in the long-term forecast. I'll have that for you coming up.
Today, May Day protests erupted across the nation, from Los Angeles to Phoenix to Chicago. Thousands gathered demanding more responsibility from elected officials. The rallies in opposition of many orders put in place by the Trump administration, including tariffs, immigration, and worker exploitation. And this was the scene in downtown Billings today, where nearly 200 people joined forces in May Day celebrations. The rally began at City Hall, with the group then marching to Senator Steve Daines' office on 3rd Avenue North. The main area of focus for several here in the Magic City, Medicaid. They worry that cuts to Medicaid will not only affect patients, but workers who provide in-home care. For one mother, Dury Cole, the proposed cuts on a federal level are personal, as Medicaid allows her to be a full-time caregiver for her son Taylor, who suffers from a serious medical issue.
Without those services, his life would be very different and very, very hard. That personal touch, I hope, helps them to see the impact that these conditions can have on families, too.
In March, Governor Greg Gianforte signed House Bill 245, which renewed the expansion program for Medicaid in Montana. But the union is worried that the claims to cut waste, fraud, and abuse might reach Medicaid in the federal level. Also known as International Workers' Day, May Day was first established back in 1889. It commemorates the massive labor movement in the United States that eventually led to the 8-hour workday. The Trump administration has terminated a $10 million grant that helped rural and tribal nations in the western United States. The administration says it's all in an effort to roll back climate and environmental justice spending. On February 21st, funding for the Mountains and Plains Thriving Communities Collaborative, known as MAP-TCC, was terminated by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. The center, based at Montana State University, has served 28 tribal nations in 6 states, providing multiple forms of support to underserved communities. MAP-TCC offered help on environmental projects such as upgrading aging water systems, solar energy projects, creating green job training programs, and more. They now have completely ceased all operations due to the withdrawal of funding. Well, the time has arrived. The enforcement of real IDs being necessary to travel through TSA or enter a federal facility starts on May 7th. Tonight, our Haley Monaco tells us about what will happen once that day arrives and how long you might have to wait if you still need a real ID.
Traveling often brings stress. And next week, there could be a few more delays.
Our intent is to keep the traveling public moving.
Coming up on May 7th, passengers need a real ID or another form of identification to go through TSA. Do you have a real ID?
No.
What are you going to do when May 7th comes around and you travel?
I'm going to use my passport. I have an American passport.
A U.S. passport is one of many other acceptable forms of ID.
They include things like a lawful permanent residency card or a foreign government-issued passport. Tribal IDs, that's a major factor here in Montana.
Montana currently has a compliance rate for real IDs of 34.46%, compared to nationwide, where 81% of travelers are ready for real ID enforcement.
A person who does not have a real ID compliant ID will experience some form of delay as we work through this.
Just need your ID.
Your personal enforcement date is the date that you are traveling. And so while enforcement starts on May 7th, you will probably not experience that until your first airline trip.
But getting a real ID at the Motor Vehicle Division may take a while.
I was told that it's a month out to get your real ID.
Adding a real ID to your driver's license, which will add a star to the top corner, is $25.
I thought a lot of people have gotten theirs already, but you know, a lot of people wait till the last minute.
In Billings, Haley Monaco, MTN News.